This is the new Great White 2 suction pool cleaner from Pentair.
Come on, let's wait away.
In this video, I'll do a torture test of the new Great White 2 suction pool cleaner. It supersedes the previous model. I couldn't find any videos online that actually showed the new Great White 2, as it's called in Australia, and the workings and mechanisms of it in action, including underneath, which is why I was compelled to make this video. If you're searching for a pool cleaner, I hope it'll be helpful. If it is, please consider giving the video a like and maybe subscribing. Thank you. Also, please note that the pool cleaner you're hearing in most of this video is because the GoPro footage underwater, the microphone was extremely close to the unit. Outside of the pool, you really can't hear it at all, so bear that in mind. It is really quiet. After a good few weeks of having no pool cleaner working, with the previous one dying, we had a huge build-up of leaves and debris. So we're going to see how well the Great White 2 deals with this problem and the results. I took weeks to decide between which pool cleaner to get. It was a choice between the Great White 2 or a Haywood. The deciding factor finally was that I had added to the cart of a pool shop in Australia the Great White 2, and I noticed the next day the price went up by nearly $200. So long story short, I contacted them and they honoured the price. Always shop around for pool cleaners and everything to do with pools, as I've mentioned in my pool series recently. Before we dive further with the test and outcome of this pool cleaner, let's take a very quick look at what's included in the box and the quick setup. As I said, always shop around local stores and online because prices can vary immensely. Because I bought the pool cleaner from another state, I didn't realise until the label showed on the box that the Pentair warranty may not apply. However, I contacted the company I purchased it off. They contacted their Pentair rep, who said it won't be a problem if there's a warranty claim. So with all the leaves and everything from the recent rain and wind, this thing's really got a job ahead of itself. It replaces this hammerhead skirt type cleaner that we've had for 10 to 15 years, which has finally given up the ghost. So there's the underside of it, the Great White. And this is the part that moves. And as you can see, which I've never been able to tell on other videos, both sides have a vent, or intake rather, which goes around to inside of there. If you can see that, GoPros don't focus too well close, so if you move that, that's the part that moves. I believe there's a gearbox in them, I'm not sure. So yeah, in theory, it should not get us stuck quite as often because of leaves. Even if one side jams up, the other one should be good to go. Now the Great White 2 pool cleaner comes with all of the fittings that you'll need to fit inside your particular skimmer box. It also comes with a flow gauge, as well as an attachment that you can use on your pool scoop handle if you want to use the Great White 2 as a scrubber. So the hoses are on the other side of the box inside, but I'll put those together while I talk to you before we throw it in the pool. And it only weighs 8 kilograms, so it's easy to carry, especially with that handle. Please note that this video was recorded during a week of near constant rain, which you'll see, so kindly make allowances for insufficient lighting. Well, I'm left with no choice but to film in the rain because it won't stop all week. So once you're downstairs or wherever, get your Pentair, put on the swivel connector, and look upside down, and that way. Pop it in and turn it a quarter of a turn to secure it, which is hard with fingers. There. All the instructions are there, along with all the parts you need for your particular filter. So let's set up the hose and actually check it working. Before going any further, make sure you backwash the pool, as I show you the proper way to do in my swimming pool video that's linked, to make sure you have full pump pressure and suction for the cleaner to work at its most efficient level. So behind the box, which is now getting wet, is all the brand new sections of hose, and straight away I can tell that one's your leader hose. That goes onto there. Out of interest, I had an exceedingly hard time connecting the brand new hoses together. I don't have the strongest of wrists anymore, and also I have had an injury to my right shoulder, but it was very, very difficult. What I found though, I was able to link them together as strong as I could, and after spending an hour in the water filming this, they then more easily notched together. So always make sure they're fully engaged. So inside the box comes 12 meters of hose. Of course every pool is different, so you may need to add a section of hose if yours is exceptionally big. So out with the old and in with the new. Just give it a swish around to make sure air bubbles are out. The things I do for YouTube. Every single pool cleaner out there that you'll research will have a vast mixture of feedback. Some people saying it's great, others saying it's garbage. It all depends on the pool. They're all different sizes, shapes, construction. But generally speaking, this had quite a good review, which I go by a lot these days, but short of anyone holding an expo where you can actually see all the pool cleaners in action, which nobody does, I guess you're just going to have to try it, unless you know someone that has one and swears by them. Every pool cleaner we've had before, which over 25 years, have both been the skirt type cleaners. The last one being made by Onka/Pentair. That went for probably easily 15 years. So generally speaking, they're a pretty good brand. Made in Europe originally, and as it shows on the box, this one was assembled in Australia. At least it's not, you know where. As I mentioned, our pool was an absolute catastrophe from weeks and weeks of rain on and off, heavy wind, with all the trees nearby. As you've probably seen in my other videos, it was a disaster. And there was little point even scooping the pool because we had wind and it was just, as you can see, a nightmare. Which we don't normally leave the pool like that. At first when I thought I was imagining it. These brushes came down and I thought, well, that's weird. That's not even mentioned in the official brochure or specifications or handbook. And so, okay, I thought, well, I've seen the thing rotate around, and I believe there was a gearbox in them, which there is, but don't get scared because I've seen since the insides of these things. So the Bristle-Drive Technology, or whatever they call it, is just a term. And there are only about 3 cogs, I think, nothing major, not like your car gearbox, and the parts aren't overly expensive, and you shouldn't have to replace them for at least a number of years anyway. But I saw this brush come down, and I thought, well, that's how it's spinning around then, spinning on its axis more or less, because there are no drive wheels. Like there are a few pumps out there now that have drive wheels, and sure enough, it's a little spring-loaded section of brushes. Now, without finding anything specific online, I calculate these brushes come down as the cogs turn, probably once every 100 or few hundred revolutions, and when they come down, that's what causes it to change its direction, as you'll see on these videos. Doing a good job, but I haven't even got the hoses connected properly yet. Anyway, when we bought the new cleaner, I spent probably 5 times I emptied the skimmer basket during the whole day, because I let the Great White 2 run and collect all these leaves.
Come on, this way, boys.
You probably won't need to do that if your pool's in a normal condition, but ours certainly wasn't. So it is, yeah, it's not an intelligent design, it is random, but more often than not, if you have leaves, you can see really what it's doing. If it doesn't catch the leaves the first time, if you're lucky, it'll stop and then do a 360-degree U-turn, or several of them, and it'll catch them on the follow-up. Also, as the water is shifted, any debris it misses follows along, and when it spins around, it tends to suck those up. The shape of your pool will be the determining factor of this, but in our particular pool, the shape it is with the pebblecrete and a couple of steps and sharp angles, it does climb up. It will climb usually, and it depends each time it moves, it'll climb up to the surface of the water. It won't come out of the water because you don't want that to suck in air. And yeah, rather than just fall down like a lot of other types of cleaners, it will work its way sometimes up and down on that particular pathway and sideways. You can see it does make several attempts to climb these very precarious stairs. So it does kind of scrub with the brushes, which is, it's the only cleaner on the market with brushes as far as I can find. Also, it tracks sideways along the curves on the bottom of our pool, as you'll see, which is good because the skirt cleaners never did that, meaning it picks up the tiny bits of debris. Obviously, the longer you run these things, the better job it'll do, because it can only do so much in a set time frame if you run it on a timer like we tend to. The trick to longevity of pool cleaners is when they're not being used every day, you should ideally take them out of the pool. and store them preferably away from sunlight. I physically lost sight of the GoPro. Sure. Now it stops raining after I've spent an hour in the pool. Great. Or the other main point is the hoses can take on a set, in other words a spiral pattern. Not so sure about these. They look pretty good with the swivel head on the Great White 2. They probably may not encounter this problem. Too early to tell yet. But normally that's what you should do. However, as I mentioned in my swimming pool series, most people are lazy when it comes to pool maintenance, and hands up from me too, yes, that's me. So most people tend to leave them in. Maybe in the beginning when you're a new pool owner, you might do the right thing always, but yeah, I assure you over time, you tend not to. So the harsh environment, such as the sun, perhaps even salt water if you have a saltwater chlorinated pool, and the temperatures, they can severely limit the lifespan of pool equipment, if left in the water especially. So for the very first night, I let the pool pump run overnight, and I'll show you the results. The next morning, after running it all night, and it's still going, wow, is all I can say. What a difference. Of course, this varies a lot depending on how long you run the pump, etc., and how many times you empty the skimmer basket and the filter basket next to your pump. Also, how frequently you backwash. So obviously, as I mentioned in my swimming pool series, which you should check out by the way, when you run the pump and backwash the filter, you have maximum pressure and suction going to your cleaner. So obviously this is a way to keep it running in prime condition. Now, I don't want to bore you any further. I spent at least an hour in the pool that day using the GoPro. It was a bit of fun, I guess, yeah, but I didn't want to just put footage on here with music over it, which suits some videos, but I didn't want to do it with this one. And I'm not going to show you an hour's worth of footage, even though some of it was really great. I hope this will give you a decent guide from someone that owns one of the Great White 2 suction pool cleaners, because as I said earlier, I wasn't able to find any videos thorough enough to show me. So far, I'm quite impressed with the Great White 2. It may occasionally fall over, but it does right itself pretty quickly. As usual, this longer video took quite a while to make, so if you do appreciate it, leave a thumbs up, maybe subscribe, because I put these sort of videos together once in a while. And yeah, I would look forward to your comments, especially those that have been thinking about pool cleaners. I'll answer any questions I can, I always do. So I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope it's been entertaining and a little bit educational. So until next time, cheers from myself and the Great White 2 pool cleaner. Well, now that I'm thoroughly wet, I hope that was informative to you in some way. If it was, please consider giving it a like and maybe subscribing and hitting the bell. Until next time, when hopefully it won't be raining, cheers. I forgot what I mentioned. Oh shit. Anyway, whatever it was, I was forgetting. That wasn't what I was going to say at all.